Welcome to the CRB meeting. The first thing on the agenda is the approval of the last meeting minutes. Did everyone get a chance to look at those minutes?
Yep.
Um, I got another one. Oh, right here. Okay, so the chair report. As everyone knows, that the chair stepped down last week, so we don't have a chair that's operating the board. So as vice chair, I guess I'm selected to move into that position until we can select another chair. So we'll have to vote on, at least to have a discussion about who wants to be the next chair of the board. So unfortunately, I can't. So I have to stay as the vice chair. Do we have any discussion on that?
Nobody's stepping right up.
Because we're certainly going to have a chair. We got how many members missing? Somnia.
Missing Sammy and the other guy that doesn't come.
We had a total of 11.
And it was
Yeah. And Olivia, so. Okay. Do you guys want to table that and talk about it later on?
Yeah.
We need to get a motion.
Second.
Oh, who made the motion? Oh, Harry just made the motion?
Yeah.
So Harry made a motion to.
No, second.
And Mike seconded it. So we'll table that. Okay. And then on the, we didn't take a vote on the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting? Can I get a second? So second by Linda, okay. And then the administrative report, which is, that's myself. So far this week, we've gotten all the invoices taken care of in the office. I have sent over 3 previous cases to the investigator, to Freeland for investigation. Those are 3 of the cases that are almost at the 18-month cutoff period. And then 3 cases that we currently have in the fiscal year 2025. So that gives us a total of 6 cases that were sent over to Freeland investigation to start the investigating. And hopefully in the June 5th meeting, we will have 6 cases that we'll be able to discuss to determine whether or not we're going to go to hearing or whether those cases will be moved out. Also, I met with, and I guess the committee will give a report on that, with the police department. On items up for discussion, a vote on replacing the board chairman, which has been tabled. Human Resources has come to me and offer us to give us a temporary summer student to work in the office. They would be picking up the cost for that summer student working in the office. And we could probably have them do some of the mundane tasks like filing, some of the clerical things in the office. So I'm not sure if we need to have a vote on whether or not we want to accept HR proposal to bring on a summer student this summer in the CRB board. CRB.
Well, I think it would be nice that this is available, but I think we need to be realistic about who's going to be there to kind of help oversee whatever this kid, I would imagine.
Right.
And like, will they have goals they have to meet that we will have to kind of be responsible to make? Or are they truly just like a summer work position, or is it something that would be, would have some goals for the kid?
Okay. That I can.
Because I don't think we should bring somebody in. Well, I mean, we really don't have a lot of people to be helping them out.
It's true. However, they could help with a lot of the, like I said, the mundane tasks in the office. And, I guess it all hinges on whether or not we have a permanent administrator in place by summertime to accomplish that. So I can definitely get with HR and find out what are their goals, if they have anything set for the summer students that particular plan that they need them to do or whatever. So
It would be nice, but we don't need to be putting ourselves again in a position where they're going to be criticizing us because we've taken somebody and we don't have anything for them to do.
okay, let's see what you're gonna say.
Well, that could be a discussion at a, maybe, I don't know, to talk about what exactly you need. You've been there now
Yep.
since January.
Right.
And we could write down everything that you see that we need so far. And then if we do have an administrator in that position, I mean, that's one less thing that they would have to do because there is no other staff.
Right, until we can get other staff
Right.
hired on. So you guys want to table this, and then I'll meet with HR, find out some more information, and get that information to you guys.
Yeah, I was going to say the history of summer interns is a sad history because oftentimes the intern comes in, there's nothing for them to do, there's no agenda, no schedule, no nothing. I'm not saying that that's the case. Oftentimes the summer intern comes in and they're getting 3 credits as an undergrad to do this internship during the summer. So I'd like to help them get the 3 credits, and they can be around periodically, and at the end of the summer, someone signs a form that says that they make coffee for us almost every day, and that type of thing. But so I'm interested when they say summer intern, is this a program in which the city of Syracuse is going to give them a stipend every week?
Yep, it's a
Okay.
paid position for
Okay,
that summer
and
student.
are they in an undergraduate position where they're going to grab 3 credit hours? I'm interested in that.
Okay.
And I think that you'll find out, you'll have enough busy work for them to do.
Oh,
to look,
absolutely.
yeah, to look at it for 3 or 4 hours every day. I don't expect them to be operating a jackhammer or anything like that, you know what I mean?
Right. So,
Okay,
Never know.
all right. You just gotta. Good call. Yeah, you just gotta keep them
But
busy and make
making
sure that,
coffee
I
is
mean,
good.
being with you is gonna be about as busy as they can get. You could also arrange for them, if it's a CRB, they could be attending periodic common council meetings.
Yeah.
That's good exposure. They could ride with the police. Maybe they could get into a firehouse and have a nice meal. Those are all possibilities.
Right, that sounds good. And also, that will be part of the infrastructure that we got to build for him or her in there, right? And we can
Yeah.
put that together, and once we talk about it, we can make up whatever they need to be
I
doing.
think they'll be with Don most of the time. You must have some extra yard work at home, right?
Oh, what yard? It's
See, this
all
is what
overgrown
happens when
right
I
now.
start talking. I go right off the edge and lose my train. Just need to be quiet, right?
Are they full-time capacity, part-time capacity?
That I'm not sure about. Again, I will have to talk to HR to find out how many hours they're talking about for that summer student. Normally, it's an 8-hour day, 5 days a week. So, which also brings up another issue because since I'm only there for 20 hours a week, it means that someone else would have to be there to supervise them during the other part of the time, unless, of course, my hours get bumped up, and then that would be able to take care of that. So,
And also determining whether or not we hire
The
the
administrator.
administrator, so
Right.
that makes a world of a difference as well.
that's good. Hey, Ida, how you doing?
It's busy. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
It's 83 degrees out there, so it's a nice day. So,
I just have one more question. Did they tell you how old the intern might be? Is this a college age or high school?
it's probably going to be a high school student.
Okay.
So. And again, I'll get that information from HR, and then I'll get an email out to everybody once I have all the data on there, So, I guess we need to either have a motion to table that for further discussion. Okay, so at least made a motion to table the hiring of the, and Peggy seconded that
Table it
motion?
for more information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then, oh,
Just a point of order to help.
okay.
After the motion's made, you should technically say all in favor and all opposed.
Oh, okay,
So, for the record.
Thank you.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Good job.
Okay. The next thing we need to talk about is a vote on the option for several training sessions for the board. One of the things, and I'm sure that the board is aware of, when we all came on board, none of us had the experience of really looking at cases to see exactly what we should be looking for. So one of the things that we're thinking of doing is having a training session for the entire board for training on how to do an investigation on a case. So that way we make sure that the citizens of Syracuse are getting a just and fair review of their cases. And Counselor, on training, does that have to be an open meeting? Joe?
No, I believe it would not be an open meeting because it's for a training purpose,
Okay. So,
educational.
okay, so anything educational, we don't have to have wouldn't apply to the open meetings law then?
Correct, because
Okay.
you're not making any decisions, you're just receiving the benefit of, educational information.
Okay. Great. So, can I get a motion that, on the training session? So we had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I forgot. Any discussion? No discussion? Motion carried. So we'll be scheduling a training session sometime in June or whenever we can get a training where we can get the entire board together. And it will probably be a Saturday. So, because most everybody works, so we'll try to get something scheduled for a Saturday for that. Let's see. Okay. One of the things, Freeland is going to be submitting a quote for the training session. Once I get that information, I will get it out to the board so we can take a look at that. And then at our next meeting, we can make a decision whether or not we want to go with Freeland or if there's another vendor that we want to look at. So, any questions on
Is
that?
Freeland a local company?
Yes, it is.
And who runs Freeland?
What's his name?
Virgil Hutchinson.
Virgil Hutchinson.
Okay.
So, and he's the one that's doing all the investigating for the CRB board right now. So, right. Okay. So next on the agenda is the committee reports. Is the chairman for the Committee on Community Outreach and Public Education here tonight?
We haven't met in regards to that yet.
Okay.
Because we're still trying to understand the laws and the bylaws of how we can train and talk about them.
Okay.
So my question would be to either of you two guys, as a discussion, like we're subcommittees, and what we're trying to do is get together and have conversations on how to build or how to create the subcommittee for the boards on the different tasks that we have. Is that something that has to be open or closed based on these bylaws, or can we discuss these matters at hand at the CRB office, et cetera? So can you give us a little gist on that?
Yes, Joe Barry, First Assistant Corporation Counsel. I take it your question pertains to the meeting of subcommittees of the board?
Yes.
And I think to answer that question accurately, I'd like to do some research and take a look at your bylaws. So
Let me
we
ask you
could
this
advise
question.
you, in writing.
So if the committee doesn't reach a quorum status, would that then, that may be something that you need to look into. If we don't reach a quorum status at the committee, would that still fall under open law?
Yep, that's the legal question at hand.
Okay.
I know obviously when the Common Council committees meet, they do so in open session because of the public nature of their activities. So with the board, I'm not as familiar with board operations, so our office will do some research into that
Okay.
to make sure we get it correct. Yep.
My question is, how are we going to ever effectively build the subcommittees or anything that's within it, trying to make it runnable and operational, rather, with all these, that's probably going to go to we know when we get an advisory board, we can put in for laws and bylaws and changes and stuff, but that's some of the stuff that's stopping the board from growing. Is a lot of little things that we can or cannot do.
Well, I think once Joe comes
Yeah.
back with the information on whether or not we have to abide by open laws for the committee, that'll give us some lead, or the subcommittees, that'll give us some leadway on what we can proceed and what we can't do.
Yes, we'll take a look at your bylaws and see the best procedure. Presumably, the committee could meet in this room, as does the full board, and conduct its business. And then committees can go into executive session for eligible items. So I tend to think it would be best to do it in the public setting, similar to the council committees, but let me check into that.
Right, because we're trying to create the subcommittees in a way where we see what we want to do and what goes on, et cetera, et cetera.
Learning or knowing what is the 1, 2, 3 to go. Or
Yes.
if we got a place just to review and keep moving, because every time that we sit together, it's like, okay, now we are going to do this and that, but we are going to report. No, there's nothing to report. So those things it doesn't look very nice in the minutes, having nothing to report when we just have so many ideas to put in place.
Does the board have several committees designated in their bylaws?
Yeah.
Yes.
And have they been meeting or not really? No. Some, okay.
Some of us have, yes.
So, well, we'll be glad to take a look at that and give you a roadmap to going forward.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We've read some of this stuff through.
Hey, Joe Barry, I just wanted to add, don't walk away, you're not done. No, but
Could escape that quick, right?
but I think some of the point that folks are getting to is, we have this meeting here that's open to the public. Then we go into executive session. The smaller 2 or 3 person committee, that means that we're anxiously awaiting your answer as to whether they have to step back into this arena on the public, and make it available. Does it have to be posted that this subcommittee's meeting? And to do that is a very cumbersome task, just for 3 people to meet and decide on a couple policy things. So my question, well, you can see what I'm getting at.
Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
it adds another level of procedure that
Well, it
takes
just
time to
drags
set up.
everything down,
and-
everything, depending on how
Yes.
how easy it is for folks to get together.
Sure.
How often. Even
Schedules
tonight, we
and-
have this meeting here, and I think we're short several people because of schedules. That's all.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad for the clarification.
Very
Yeah.
well said.
Puts it in context. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, because, Joe, we have to bring everything back to the board anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not like the committees can make all these decisions.
Yeah, the committees are just making recommendations.
Yes.
Right.
That's a good point.
Which reminds, don't move. I was thinking as the email traffic goes back and forth between meetings, is that email traffic between committee members, especially if the vice chair is included, is that all foilable?
There's an exception for interdepartmental communications among a government entity, if you're talking
Yeah.
just amongst yourselves.
Okay.
But that becomes void if you share it with an outside person, except your attorneys. You can share it with
I understand that.
attorneys, but if one board member kind of sends it to his best friend, then
Be like the Secretary of Defense or something.
yeah.
Okay, I got it. I got it.
Yep.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
But
So the next committee to report is the Committee on Board Training, Development and Board Training. No, that's the outreach. We did
The
outreach
outreach and
in public.
education.
Yeah, so we're on the,
We did try to, we've had discussion, Ada, myself, and at one time, Josh, but it didn't go no further.
okay.
When he was on the board. And we had discussions because of the, we didn't know whether or not we could speak together, meet, and just come up with some ideas, and then bring it back to the table to say what we came up with because of the laws and the bylaws.
Okay. The next thing up is the government relations.
he's gone.
Okay. We need a replacement.
Yeah.
Would anyone like to step up to take on that position?
Why are you staring at me? It was only him and me, right?
But we could at least get a chairperson in.
What does it involve?
That's what we gotta create.
Yeah. That,
Oh,
and-
well, we don't know.
yeah,
Okay.
So it's
That's
a-
why there's never a report.
That's why
Okay.
there's never.
There's some wiggle
That was
room.
my question about what, we have to organize all that and
Right.
even with what is,
And we can't do
in order to
anything.
report something, you gotta be like,
Does the Committee on
Protocol.
Government Relations, is it
Protocol.
defined in the bylaws what its job is?
I would have to check that.
Okay.
And I'm not sure any of the committees are outlined in the
Right.
the legislation or the bylaws.
But we can look and see if it is, and based on that, we still can't move. Because we don't know what. how
Yeah, we just have to
discuss it.
find a government to be pen pals with, right?
So the next,
Committee set forth in the bylaws.
oh, there
Are
are?
they?
That, and it gives an
I
outline
saw
of,
them there.
Of what
but no
they're-
guidelines.
They
I see no
discuss.
guidelines.
I
so.
just, I
I,
saw,
I understand your second point. I just didn't know what the committee would do.
okay.
Let's say the committee
Well,
was
I
all get
would-
together, there's 3 people, you're gonna meet open, it's public. What do they do?
I would imagine for the government stuff, like, maybe, like, involved, especially with the council, like going to the meetings or giving them input.
I'm gonna see if Joe has, would
Well,
you,
there's apparently 5 committees currently designated. The Committee on Community Outreach and Public Education,
right?
Committee on Board Development and Training, Committee on Government Relations, Committee on Police Relations,
Yeah.
and the Committee on Operations.
And then we have a sixth one, which would be the Committee on Hearings.
Oh, yes, well, that's kind of a specialized function.
Right, specialized function.
Yeah.
Now, in there, does it outline what each of those responsibilities, each one of those committees?
It does not seem to break down the actual committee.
Okay, so yeah, so that's
Responsibility.
why we have to draft up what's the responsibility and the
Responsibility.
task for each of those committees.
right, that's
And
why
that
we
was my
have the
question to
problem.
you,
That
because I
your-
was looking all over, it was like, no guidance, no protocols about it, it's just the name of the committee, but no expectation or a protocol, no nothing like, okay, this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Would it make sense that the Committee on Government Relations would be a committee that interacts with the Common Council?
Yeah.
Right. But we gotta put it together, what we're gonna
Well, I
get
know
out of those
that.
committees.
I'm
and
still
we
at phase
can't.
1. I know what you're saying. Okay. I'm just
No,
saying,
no,
if you want,
clarification, it
if
gotta
you
be
want to
like
say
the-
that this is a committee that interacts
I
with the
agree.
Common Council,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, if the,
I made I nominate Peggy Chase to be the
Good for you.
chairperson of that committee.
oh, we table, oh, well, that's the committee, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll get you some help.
So what I
Okay.
can do is, I can do a draft, do some research and do a draft for each of the committees and outline some of the responsibilities of each of the committees, and then get that to you guys.
Thought we were gonna- That's what the committees were gonna help do, is get
Oh, okay.
responsibilities.
And
that way
I
we
tried
can
to
all
get, you know,
be
But
in
that
on
would be
the-
helpful.
I did part
On
of the
the same
research as
page.
well, but it's like different in a brief.
Okay.
So we're at the point where you mentioned Peggy being the head of that committee, and the committee could simply somehow communicate as to what they want the committee to do. They could define what their role is.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to get.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's all they have to do.
But we can't meet unless it's under these laws and bylaws.
Well,
So
we'll have
how
to-
do
I
we
think it was
meet?
only me and Josh.
We're waiting for an answer.
Yeah, we gotta wait
as to
for-
Wait
whether
for
they're
Jones.
doing-
Yeah,
That- That's
and
the
Thank you.
biggest thing
Okay,
that stops us.
we're counting on you.
Can I get a second?
I second the motion. A motion?
I can second that.
Yes.
Okay. Item. So we have a motion on the floor to make Peggy the chairman of the Committee on Government Relations. We had a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Ayes carry. Peggy, you're now the new chairman.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, the next one is the Committee on Police Relationships.
Okay. Here's what we did. We met with Chief Cecil and his staff, our group, and I can tell you it was very early April,
April 8th.
April 8th, and hey, here's a snapshot, and it's a very, in my mind, for me, it was a very uplifting and impressive snapshot. I haven't been back in that building in 15 and a half years, and so to go back in the building and to be welcomed, Chief Cecil, First Deputy Chief Rich Schaff, Deputy Chief Mark Russin, the head of their defensive tactics program, Lieutenant Patty, I think it's Don Patty, and their positions and their push was to make sure that there was an open relationship between the Syracuse Police Department and the CRB. And I want to say, having left there 15 and a half years ago, I was overwhelmed with the difference in management styles from 15 and a half years ago, in that they presented themselves as responsible, transparent, and community-oriented, and were willing to work with the CRB on anything that we requested from them and provide whatever it was we requested from them. The only two things that they asked for from their end of it was, if they did something correct, they would hope that the CRB would step to the plate and say that this was done correctly. And if there's something they did wrong before, I think their hint was before somebody went to the media, they would at least give them a heads up. Hey, this is a finding we had that found you folks at fault or incorrect or whatever you did wrong, that they would know about it beforehand. But the level of responsibility and talent in that room was impressive, and their openness to the community was even more impressive. Of just a completely different vibe than 15 plus years ago. So it's clear they want to work with us. They want to have a relationship with us. They want to continue in all of their rules and regulations, training regimens, training lesson plans, how they do it is all available to us. We even had a brief discussion relative to their training on use of force. They also talked in terms of everything that they do, whether it's use of force, dealing with mental health issues, things like that. All of that is sanctioned by New York State, the Division for Criminal Justice Services. So they have to have approval for what they're doing. They're at a point now where they have at least 3 different things that they do in training that the state of New York has identified as the model for the rest of the state. And they are very progressive. I was impressed. I mean, that's my report. In the middle of all this, as I'm walking down State Street earlier this week, and I was not that much aware that you told me where the CRB office is in that.
In one place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't believe you. I just thought you were
Some
talking
days
about,
I don't either.
I just thought you were talking about the wrong building. But I see now the city logo is on the front of it, and their office is there. And walking in was a detective that I used to supervise, who is now assigned to the internal affairs.
Okay.
So we reconnected, said hello, and he has emailed me with his phone number and said that anything that we need, he knew that I was on the CRB, any help that he could provide from his office, he would. It was just a nice connection, and I told him that I would as soon as this meeting is over, every month, I'd report back to them, private meeting. Just kidding. But no, it was kind of, I was taken aback by the reception over at the PSB.
We have two action items from that meeting. The one action item was that the Internal Affairs have written off multiple cases. So they were going to get me a list of all the cases that they have written off, and then we're going to cross-reference to the cases that we have, and then we'd make a determination whether or not those cases should have been written off or those cases needed to go forward. So once I get that information, the second item, action item that they were going to do was to get me a copy of the policing manual. So that way, as the temporary administrator, I can look, when I'm looking at cases, I can see whether or not the case falls within the policy or outside of the policy. I will be meeting with them on Monday at 11 o'clock, and hopefully they'll have that information for me, and we can move forward, and I can close those two action items.
I was just, were they going to give you the manual or give you the password to get into the system so you could see the manual?
That I'm not sure of.
Okay.
So,
Make sure you mention that, because
Okay.
I thought they were going to give you the password for the system. It's a Dropbox, and you could look up whatever the topic was within their system.
okay.
Because it was changing all the time.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
okay.
Yeah, and that was, thank you, that was one of the things they mentioned on a use of force case, hypothetically. Use of force case in 2022, let's say 2021, and it turns out that they had changed the rule in this particular area in 2022. They wanted to make sure that, that the officer who conducted themselves, this is hypothetical, based on the 2021 rule, would be incorrect if it occurred in 2023, because that would have been updated in 2022.
Right.
It's that kind of back and forth thing.
Okay.
Kind of interesting.
I will definitely ask them about whether it's going to be a hard copy or whether it's going to be access to the system. So.
Okay.
Well, that's what we're talking about, the manual, the policy manual for the Syracuse Police Department. So. Okay. The next one is the Committee on Operations.
I have a recommendation. Done tons of interviews, did second interviews. I have checked the references, and in executive session, we will be voting on that candidate.
And actually, we won't be voting on that candidate.
We will not?
We'll have to come back from Joe's.
Okay.
We
We will discuss it.
will discuss.
Okay.
Oh, yes, I can elaborate if need be.
Yep.
We had that discussion before you arrived.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of, you can have the discussion about the candidate in executive session under open meetings law, but any final action has to be in public. And then my understanding is, it sounds like you're at the point where you're just making an offer to a particular person.
Get approval from the board first.
Right.
Yes, so that approval can be an open vote, but the name of the person will be withheld because we can't jeopardize their privacy with their current employer.
Yes.
And then, once that offer is accepted and everything's finalized, then it would come back to the board as a final vote to name the person as administrator.
Okay, great.
So kind of a two-step process.
So that will hold up for that administrator being on the board if she takes that position another month. Because we can't,
That's just,
because we have to bring it back to the public
Yeah.
first.
But you could have a special meeting.
Right, we can have the discussion, but if that person accepts it and we can get them in, for instance, within a week or two of being hired, we have to bring it back again before they can start work.
Well, but I think what Joe is saying that once that person accepts the position, the board can have a special hearing and then vote on a special hearing. We can
A
talk-
special meeting to
A special
confirm the selection now that the candidate has
Right,
accepted.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it
And
has to
they
be brought
need-
to public, which is one of these right here.
Yes, yep.
And it's gonna take a longer time for that person to be
Well,
on work status if that's the case.
Well,
correct?
presumably, though, that person will need time to disengage from their current
2 weeks, yeah,
employer, so,
okay.
with a special meeting, I think you could you could fit that in. I know it's hard to coordinate people's schedules for a special meeting, but,
For that.
Yeah, we'll do a special meeting.
you know, it would be presumably a quick meeting if that was the only agenda
Yeah.
item.
Yeah.
So
The
people wouldn't
only
have
thing
to
on the agenda would be that.
give up their whole evening.
Yep. Okay. And since we have no hearings, we have no report on the Committee on Hearings. So we move into the next section, which is the public comments, 5 minutes per person. Okay. So Barry, you can sit on this side and move on that side and move back on that side. Then you
Don't I
can do-
need to be on the microphone so that it's,
Oh, no, I mean for multiple speaking. You pretend to be different people from different sides of the aisle.
I'm just me, I can't pretend to be anybody
I
else.
think he was making a joke.
I
I'm not
know.
sure. If you've got to explain it, it's not a good joke.
No comment on the goodness of the joke. Point of information, On Point for College hosts, well, facilitates summer internships of college students. Last year, there were 10 On Point interns that were placed in the city of Syracuse. I don't know if HR is talking about On Point interns, but if they indeed are, they are college students. They are 25 hours a week or up to 25 hours a week. And these are students who have specific career goals that would align with an internship with the CRB.
Okay.
But you got to ask HR, are these on-point interns or somebody else?
Okay.
The police policies for SPD are in electronic form. They use Lexapro policies as the basis for SPD policies, so that this stuff is not in hard copy. I'm sure they could give it to you in hard copy, but what they're going to give you is access, and that access to the policies should be available to all of you, because one of your major objectives is to decide, were the actions of a police officer justified within policy and procedure or not? So you literally can't make a determination or a finding without having that policy. And there is a separate bunch of policies that reference a separate bunch of procedures, and they have to be looked at together. You seem to have a lot of confusion as to what committees do. At least 2 of you were given a big, fat loose leaf by the last administrator.
Everyone was given that.
Yeah, and I don't know how many of you have read through it, and I have never read through it. But it may be that a description of each committee is in that,
I did.
and it's not.
No. it's
Okay.
not.
There's nothing in there.
One other thing before I make a statement. Internal Affairs or Office of Professional Standards should not ever be writing off a case. I do not think that that language is really appropriate. They are making a determination as to whether a complaint is founded, unfounded, or undetermined. So I would urge you to adopt similar approach in that if you find that a complaint is not substantiated or not founded, you speak about it that way rather than talking about it as if a complaint and a live person who experienced the perception of harm is being written off. So I just think we have to be really careful with our language.
And that's the reason why I'm requesting that they give us that listing of those cases that were written off, so we can cross-reference to the cases that we have, that we can look at those cases and then make a determination, should they have been written off or not? And then
You don't have to respond to me, but I would again say that if IA has made a determination that a case is not something that they think is justified, the complaint is not justified, it means that the complaint was unfounded according to Internal Affairs. They may internally talk about it as writing it off, but you're in a public meeting, and these are complaints made by human beings that perceive harm. So I think it's really important to adopt the language of founded, unfounded, or unable to determine. No matter what you or police officers might use as language internally. So I just want to make a statement. You, as a body, were created and confirmed as an agency that would operate and make decisions independently and without interference or control by city councilors or by police or city officials. This independence is essential for the CRB to function and to be effective at pursuing its mission. I think you've lost some of that independence recently. And I think that you need to regain and maintain it, or you will lose the ability to be an effective avenue for review of police conduct, police policy and procedure, and civilian complaints. All the members and eventually the staff of the CRB also need to act in accordance with the limitations of the law, including the open meetings law and New York state and federal laws related to avoiding discriminatory practices. If there are members of the board topics that have to do with compliance with law, mistakes will again be made. There will again be disagreements and tensions that will impede your work and your working relationships. You have lost a board member who was working on establishing essential training as the chair of the Board Training and Development Committee. You have also lost a strong chair who had the knowledge and ability to recognize both organizational needs and liabilities. So, I suggest that your absolute first task should be to identify board members to replace these two essential positions on the board. However, they must be members who fully understand the mission of the CRB and the need for it to have independence and comply with applicable law. Then, in addition to the training, I think that the new chair should draft or work with another board member to draft and then present to the board a draft policy on how external communications by board members should and should not occur. My suggestion is that this policy be aimed to avoid inadvertently communicating mixed messages or non-consensual messages that don't speak for the board as a whole, and also that avoid facilitating interference in CRB decision-making. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I would like to speak on the unfounded, the information that should be translated. Let me make sure, because at the police meeting that we had, Chief Cecil it was unfounded information, nor was it undetermined or anything like that. It was about the time span that it had timed out. So those cases that he was talking about were cases that were timed out based on the amount of time, the 18 months or so that was behind each case. So it wasn't so much as, and this is what we're trying to find and correct, and let the board be a part of the correction and understanding as to these cases itself, not so much as in they were unfounded cases or anything like that. So just to make that clear. We have to pick up the word jargon. Of course, we have to pick up those words, and that's going to come with time and development and because of the different things. But there's no one particular board member which is going to do everything. We're all going to take part in it. We should all take part in it because we're all board members. So we may have come up with some things that may not have been under the right word association, but we can't go out there ourselves, like you said, and represent the whole board, and it's only one person. So we have to make sure that we all do it with the consistency of working together, and our ideas and everything that we put together become as one as a CRB board member, and that's my thought.
So if we don't have any other person that needs to speak, I'd like to have someone make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss the I'm trying to think of the word.
I think it would be just to help. I think you need you're looking for a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel matters,
Right.
in particular in relationship to the CRB, the vacant CRB administrator post.
That is correct. So, can someone make that motion?
Yep.
Oh,
We have to practice.
Peggy,
What
make,
Joe said.
okay.
Second, and then, yeah.
Can we get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay, we're going to break for executive session, and we will return after that. Do we need to return? Or,
You have to return, yes, because you have to
Okay.
come back to regular session after an executive session and adjourn your regular meeting.
okay, great.
I don't know, do you go to a different room for
We do
executive
go,
session?
we go down to the iLab.
You have, okay. So you would go down there and then come back. and
Okay,
We'll wait for you.
okay, fantastic.
Unless,
They would have-
they should come back here. Yeah, best to come back to the original spot. And
Is there a way that we could go to executive and leave a motion on the table as far as adjournment, and then you don't have to come back?
I don't think so.
You don't know? Okay,
Yeah,
you don't
it's-
think so?
No, I'm
Okay,
pretty sure.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, procedurally, you really have to come out of executive session and end the formal day's meeting.
Just end it, we don't have to discuss.
Yeah, you just come back and make a motion to adjourn,
Yeah, okay, I
you know,
just want to.
unless there's an action item coming out of executive session,
Okay.
which there may be tonight.
Okay, thank you, I just wanted to make.
Could do executive session.
You could, I mean.